June 1940. Europe holds its breath. In just 6 weeks, France, once the most feared military power on Earth, collapses. German tanks surge through open countryside. Refugees choke the roads, carrying everything they own. The sky is filled with smoke and fear. Paris, capital of revolutions, empire, and glory, falls without a fight. More than 1.5 million French soldiers are captured. Entire armies vanish. The unthinkable has happened. But now, imagine something impossible. Imagine that when Germany crossed the border in 1940, France was not led by hesitant generals, not by politicians haunted by the bloodshed of World War I. Imagine instead that the man defending France was Napoleon Bonaparte, the emperor, the conqueror of Europe, the man who broke kings and redrew continents, a commander who never waited for history to happen. He forced it to happen. Would France still collapse in 6 weeks? Would Hitler still conquer Europe? Or would the greatest war of the 20th century collide with the greatest general of all time? This is the alternate history of World War II, under Napoleon. In real history, most were veterans of World War I, a war of trenches, barbed wire, and mass slaughter. To them, the next war would look the same. So they prepared for the past. They built the Maginot Line, a colossal wall of steel and concrete stretching along the German border. It was powerful, heavily armed, nearly impossible to destroy head-on, a fortress system meant to make France untouchable. But it had one fatal flaw. It stopped at the Ardennes forest. French commanders believed the terrain was too dense, too rugged, too narrow for modern armies. Tanks can't pass through here, they said. They were wrong. In May 1940, German Panzer divisions smashed through the Ardennes, slipped behind the Maginot Line, and tore the French army in half. Command collapsed. 6 weeks later, France surrendered. But Napoleon would never have fought this way. Because Napoleon believed one thing above all else: the battlefield is not a place to wait. It is a place to move. Now imagine a different France. September 1939. Germany invades Poland. World War II begins. But in this timeline, France is not paralyzed by memory. France has over 3 million soldiers, thousands of tanks, some of the most powerful artillery in the world, strong defensive positions on paper. France is unstoppable. In reality, everything is scattered. Units are slow, commanders hesitate. Plans revolve around defense, not decision. Napoleon despises this, because his entire philosophy of war is built on 3 brutal principles: speed, concentration of force, decisive battle. Napoleon does not wait for enemies. He forces them to react. So instead of sitting behind concrete walls, he strikes first. French forces surge across the German border. At first it works. German defenses are thin. French troops capture towns and rail junctions. For a moment, the world believes Germany has miscalculated. But then, Germany answers back. In October 1939, German Panzer divisions redeploy from Poland. They strike the French spearhead near the Saar region. What follows is a brutal, chaotic tank battle. For the first time, French troops see Stuka dive bombers screaming from the sky, tanks moving faster than any artillery can track, radios coordinating German attacks in real time. French units begin to lose contact with each other. A French armored division is surrounded. Thousands are captured. Within days, the French offensive stalls. Napoleon has suffered his first major setback. Germany proves something important. This will not be an easy war. Spring 1940. Hitler prepares his real plan: a massive attack through the Ardennes forest. The same plan used in real history. Fast, risky, and devastating if it works. Napoleon studies the maps. He immediately senses danger. He tells his generals, "If I were the enemy, I would strike here." But not everyone listens. Some French commanders still believe the Ardennes is too difficult for tanks. So while Napoleon moves reserves toward the region, they are not enough. May 1940, German tanks surge through the Ardennes. Thousands of vehicles push through narrow forest roads. Then they reach the Meuse River. German engineers throw bridges across under heavy fire. Stuka bombers scream overhead. French defenders are shaken. Within days, the German army punches a hole through the French lines. Just like in real history. German forces begin racing toward the English Channel. If they reach it, they will trap the best French and British armies in the north. For a moment, it looks like France is about to collapse again. German Panzer divisions move fast. Too fast. They outrun their fuel trucks. They stretch their supply lines thin. Napoleon sees the opportunity. He gathers everything he has: elite armored divisions, motorized infantry, heavy artillery. And he launches a massive counterattack, aimed directly at the German spearhead. This becomes one of the largest tank battles in early World War II. Hundreds of tanks clash across open fields. German Panzer III and IV tanks fire rapidly. French Char B-1 tanks, heavily armored, push forward like steel fortresses. At first, the Germans dominate. Their radios give them coordination. Their tactics are faster. French units begin to break. A German breakthrough threatens to encircle another French army, but Napoleon does something unexpected. Instead of retreating, he concentrates every available tank into a single point. A massive armored hammer. He personally directs the strike. At dawn, the French launch a sudden assault on the German flank. German units are caught off guard. Fuel trucks explode. Communication lines break. Panzers begin to retreat. By nightfall, the German spearhead is cut in two. For the first time in the war, a Blitzkrieg attack has been stopped and partially reversed. But the victory is costly. Thousands of French soldiers are dead. Dozens of tanks burn across the fields. And the German army is still inside France. By June 1940, the Germans are close to Paris. Artillery can almost reach the outskirts. The French government prepares evacuation plans. Foreign diplomats begin leaving the city. It feels like history is repeating itself. But Napoleon refuses to abandon the capital. He gathers his army south of Paris. He prepares for one decisive battle. In real history, the Battle of the Marne in 1914 saved France from Germany. Now, in this alternate timeline, history repeats itself. German forces push toward Paris, but Napoleon has chosen the battlefield carefully. He lures the German army into a stretched advance. Then he strikes. French forces hit the German flanks from both sides. Artillery rains down. Tank divisions crash into German supply lines. The German advance begins to slow, then stall. And something worse happens. Fuel runs out. Ammunition runs low. German troops deep inside France begin to panic. Within days, the advance collapses. The Germans retreat. Paris is saved. Back in Berlin, Hitler is furious. He orders one final massive offensive. All available forces are thrown into the Western Front. Germany must win, or face defeat. In late 1940, the Germans launch a final attack near the Belgian border. It becomes one of the bloodiest battles of the war. Tanks burn across muddy fields. Cities are reduced to rubble. Both sides suffer terrible losses. At one point, German forces break through again. A French army is nearly surrounded. For a few terrifying days, it seems like Germany might still win. Chapter 11. The final counterattack. Napoleon makes his last gamble. He gathers every reserve he has left. Nearly 500,000 troops are concentrated into one massive strike force. He launches a sudden attack at the weakest point in the German line. The effect is devastating. German units, exhausted and undersupplied, begin to crumble. Entire divisions surrender. Thousands of German soldiers are captured. The front collapses. By early 1941, German armies are retreating. Industry is under Allied attack. Food shortages spread. Morale collapses. Inside Germany, the generals lose faith in Hitler. A coup is launched. Hitler is removed from power. Germany sues for peace. The war in Europe ends after barely 2 years. 1-3, a very different world without Hitler's long war. The world changes completely. Which escalated during the later war years is likely far smaller or disrupted earlier. Because now, Europe faces a new question. What happens when Napoleon wins again? Napoleon begins reorganizing the continent. He pushes for French influence over Germany, new borders across Central Europe. A European system under French leadership. Britain becomes uneasy. Because Britain has always feared one thing: A single power dominating Europe. Now that power is France. The world may see a new rivalry. Britain and the United States against Europe. He expanded Soviet territory and influence. A new conflict could erupt. France versus the Soviet Union. A different war, a different battlefield, but the same struggle for control of Europe. Let's compare the real timeline with Napoleon's alternate one. Nazi control war lasts 6 years, over 70 million. Collapses by 1940. War in Europe lasts less than a year. Tens of millions of lives potentially saved. One man's leadership. Conclusion: the history is shaped by many forces. Economics, technology, geography, politics, but sometimes one person changes everything. Napoleon Bonaparte was not just a general. If he had led France in 1940, the story of World War II might have been completely different. No 6-year global catastrophe. Instead, the world might have seen a short war, a defeated Germany, and a Europe shaped once again. Because sometimes history doesn't change because of armies or weapons. Sometimes history changes because of one man.